So it's snowing here today in Denver, and not much to do outside. I did have a lot to do yesterday. That's what broke my streak of days consecutive uploading. And yeah, maybe I'll make it up to you with like 2 uploads in a day. But today I wanted to just express some of my awe in some of the latest means of protest that I've seen people undertaking, especially with regards labor. But because of the snow today, I'm reminded of something that happened about 11 years ago, and probably 2 months. It happened during the Occupy movement. And I remember going to where I would expect to find occupiers. And the winter had broken the movement. And this is not something that a lot of people like to admit, but the Occupy Wall Street movement partially collapsed because of timing. If you look at the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests that happened all over the country, they were marching at summertime, and they didn't give a fuck, and they got a full summer of action, political action, news cameras on them, the whole discourse. But the Occupy movement for a while was gaining traction and getting that public discourse. There's that phase that every movement has where they say, "Oh, the media is ignoring us." Every movement goes through this. Oh, the media is ignoring us. They're trying to suppress it, right? And then afterwards, like, they start getting more news, but, only after a while. And I remember the news starting to pick up in September of 2011, and then I went out to go see what was going on, and I was a part of all that good trouble, and then saw what it turned into and everything. But it was the snow and the frigid cold that broke my local Occupy movement, where no one was there. If you can't occupy a space if you are not there. And I remember taking my video camera, and it was a different camera back then, but I remember just doing a good pan of the entire place, turn the camera on myself, and look, I'm the only motherfucker here. Where is everybody else? And I sent this message unlisted to a lot of people. I just sent them the link, hey, this is not cool. People drive by and they're gonna see that you guys left, that you're not occupying anymore. And that's the weakness that Occupy had. You actually have to show up and be there. You can't break for the weather. You can't just show up after work hours, because if you have anything else to do with your life, you can't be there long enough to hold the place. If everybody went back to work during their workday, and then they only went, during the evenings, then the protests they're only holding the space during the evenings. And so structurally, the way that it was set up, it had disadvantages. And what I'm seeing now in the trucker movements that are happening at the U.S.-Canada border where, truckers don't want to get a shot so in order to cross the border to be truckers, and they're that I think is their main gripe, but they're protesting for all sorts of stuff. They're calling it the Freedom Brigade or whatever, blockade. I don't agree with their politics, but what I do like about what they're doing, hear me out, is they're protesting in a way that's harder to break because they're in air-conditioned cabs. The cab of their truck is such that the weather cannot break them. As long as they have gas in the vehicle, they can occupy that space, and they can use their radios to talk to each other. They're staying social distanced in that way, but I don't know that they mind that kind of stuff. They're kind of the anti-vax crowd, but I see what they're doing, and it is a step better than the Occupy movement. They're occupying public spaces, which are roads and means of entry into loading docks and whatnot. They're parking their trucks in places to create disruption, but they're doing it in comfort. That's an evolution of protest that I really appreciate, the comfort aspect of it. And maybe that's betraying a little bit of my privilege that I had the first time around, but what I noticed was when it gets to less than 10 degrees outside and you see snow everywhere where your park that you're trying to occupy is, nobody wants to do it. And rather than fight that, maybe people need to organize just like the truckers did, and even people of my politics, they need to adapt and protest in a way that doesn't break your own spirit, because the winter seems to have that effect on protests. Not all of them. Sometimes outrage breaks out and you can't contain people's spirit with the weather. But I have seen it happen where people just get a little burned out of freezing for the cause. So, yeah, I appreciate this evolution of protest. I just saw the strike for the King Soopers union, and it was really, really organized. The Kroger King Soopers strike here in Colorado. It only took 2 weeks for them to have raises of $2 an hour for like everybody, for every different position, and the community wouldn't cross the picket line for the most part, and people started shopping in other places. I went to a Walmart and found that everybody else just decided to shop at Walmart for a day instead of King Soopers, and then they picked Walmart clean, and Walmart had trouble keeping up with the demand because it had shifted in the neighborhood. And then same thing at Safeway and a bunch of other places that you could get groceries. Whole Foods, which they cost a lot more than other places. They still, people bought up all the things at Whole Foods rather than shopping at King Soopers, and so like that community support was part of it. It's an evolution to get a lot more community support involved for something that's very simple to do. You don't have to go out and set up a tent and camp out in a park in order to join a protest like this. All you have to do is pick somewhere else to shop, right? They organized truckers to also help them with their cause by not delivering to King Soopers. The truckers union kind of helped out the other union. That was great. And they really got some really good concessions in a matter of 2 weeks. You know? And I appreciate how they've kind of evolved the method that they were using to protest and strike with to be really fast and really effective. And that's, that's going to send ripples through other industries that also kind of need to strike for better wages because, inflation keeps on outpacing our pay. I particularly liked this one thing that I saw. Programmers had decided to spam the job application web portal for King Soopers with fake job applications, with randomized, real-looking applications that they just kind of did like word jumbles on, and they looked like they were real applications. And so if anyone was trying to be a scab and break the line and get hired at King Soopers without being in the union, they would be, 1 out of 100 applicants were real. The rest were all just fake generated things that were submitted, and that made it a lot harder for King Soopers to fight the strike. And I'm like, wow, you guys are really evolving in your methods of protest, and I appreciate that. I'm learning, and I'm hoping that other protest movements, they learn along with all this that there's easier ways to protest and ways that don't require so much of the people that you're wanting to organize, that won't burn them out on the movement. You can march once a week, or you can march every day, right? And maybe if you feel like marching every day is what you need, you just have to realize that you're going to be burning people out on marching versus having one big one weekly that maybe you can get better numbers on in that and not have the numbers taper off eventually. Maybe that's the way to go about it. Just learn from movements in the past and what made people stop caring as much is my takeaway from all this. Those are my thoughts for today. Thanks for watching. Another ramble tomorrow.